Hello guys and girls, welcome to Board Now's Gilmore Girls review. This is the season finale and it is of the first season. It's called Love, Daisies and Troubadours, quite the title. So Luke goes all Casper the Friendly Ghost in the opening scene. In other words, he's not there even. And this was actually a really nice opening because Luke, as it turns out, has been doing some work on the Gilmore household, and Lorelai is so convinced that he's there that she starts screaming at him to stop making noise as Luke isn't there, and the neighbours get on Lorelai's case, and when Rory gets woken up, it's a whole production, and Luke is clearly on Lorelai's mind constantly, but doing work on the house. And this leads to one of the main plots in this episode, which is the love triangle with Lorelai, Luke, and also Rachel. But obviously Max is involved as well. I'll get to that in a moment. But the relationship between Luke and Rachel isn't going so great, partly because Rachel is convinced that he has feelings for Lorelai, and Luke says he's struggling a bit because he's not used to like having the steady girlfriend thing, or at least not living with her. So Lorelai gives him advice, but ultimately Rachel does move out quite sort of randomly later in the episode. She just makes it clear that she feels uncomfortable and that he clearly has a thing for Lorelai, and she moves out without just leaving a note, basically. So the love triangle sort of switches to Max and Lorelai and to Luke, with Lorelai and Max making it a bit more official in this case, and Max actually proposes to Lorelai in this episode out of the blue. He as a gesture he sends her, I think it's 1,000 daisies, and that's sort of part of his wedding proposal. But we see Max sort of becoming more of like Lorelai's life in this episode, because he even goes to his first town meeting, which is a vintage town meeting. More on that later, but the issue of troubadours does come up because, of course, there's a regular town troubadour, and in this episode, there's an imposter, and that becomes the big sort of set two of the town meeting, where this troubadour isn't happy because he's always been the town troubadour, and now this other guy is infringing on his territory, and he's talking about contracts and all this sort of thing, and it's a big ha-ha, and it's actually Rory who stands up for him. I'll talk more about that later when I get to Rory's plot, but basically it's sort of subtext for what's happening with her and Dean when she speaks up about the town choir and how, he's been here all the time and now someone's on his turf. But to continue the love triangle stuff with Lorelai, Luke, and Rachel, yeah, that there is this thing with Max and Lorelai. They're starting to date. Rachel, I think, does actually say goodbye to Luke properly. I'm watching the clip now, so I did make a mistake on that one. It's not just a note, but it's pretty awkward. She's quite nice about it though, and Luke looks very isolated, alone in the cafe. But it's Lorelai's big date night with Max when Luke calls round looking for some support, and the set two between Max and Luke is really entertaining in this. Max is losing points all the time for me because he is an absolute dick in this scene, because he obviously comes along after, and Lorelai's being like a shoulder to cry on because of Luke losing Rachel, and Max reminds, because she says, we can talk about this later, and Luke is like, sure, and Max is like, well, no, not tonight because we're going out on a date and all that, and Luke's like, well, or Lorelai says, well, I just meant later as in another day, maybe And I think Luke mentions tomorrow, and Max basically says, "Yeah, but not too early because she's going to be up with me all night." And he's really turning the needle. He's really trying to assert his authority. They've only just met, bearing in mind, and Max is who's back and forth as a character, but in this scene he is absolutely the worst. Even though there's some justification for him maybe being a bit jealous. For him to act so pig-headed is yeah, it's not. Screw you, Max. Screw you. But in any case, I do like the fact that Luke gets the last laugh in the scene because he comes back with, well, whatever time it is, I'll always be here. And I love that because it's like this wider sort of statement of I've been in Lorelai's life for all these years, and I'll always be in her life. I'll be here. So it's almost like this statement of, hey pal, you may be dating her now, but I will always be in her life in some form or fashion. And I think this may be what prompts the proposal from Max because he's pretty jealous. He has it out with Lorelai and says, "Well, what's this guy doing over here now? He seems to spend a lot of time over here, and he's clearly jealous." And Lorelai, of course, sort of shrugs it away, even though there is something to what Max is saying. But we build to like the big close of the episode where I think both Lorelai and Rory are at crossroads because, of course, we have the Rory plot in this episode. She's still suffering from the breakup with Dean, but she's trying to confront him. She actually takes the bold step to go into Luke's place of work, and it turns out he's not there on that particular day. She goes back another day, and he's actually not working there on that day. They've got someone else there, which is sort of brilliant. It's this classic awkward Gilmore Girls style conversation because um, Taylor like shows her to where like the checkout boy is, so she can ask him the question. And of course, she's expecting it to be Dean, but it turns out to be someone else, and there's this big drama where she just has to talk to him and then leave. And there's a nice little cameo from Dean's sister in this episode because at one point Lorelai, this might be my favourite scene of the episode actually. Lorelai, I'm doing a combination of the two there. What am I playing at? Rory goes over to the house, wants to talk to Dean, and when she gets to his sister, she pretends to be a Girl Scout looking to sell Girl Scout cookies. So that's a great Rory sort of cover, and she ends up sort of running off. But there's a couple of nice little scenes with Dean's sister who we meet for the first time in this episode. I'm not sure if it's for the last or not, but she did make an impression. But also at Chilton, the drama is continuing with Tristan, who just won't take a no for an answer with Rory. He's still pursuing her. This is still causing tension with Rory and Paris, who's very jealous, believing there is something going on between the two. And basically, Tristan gets her or him and Rory, sorry, PJ Harvey tickets without obviously asking her. And and I think what I love about this is I sort of called bullshit on this one because I said there's no way this douche is a PJ Harvey fan, and I just assumed it would be this thing where okay, for the sake of drama he is. I mean, obviously he's doing it to try and take Rory out on a date, and Rory sort of catches him that yeah he intends this to be a date, but they actually do reveal later on that he has no idea who PJ Harvey is because he actually thinks it's a man. And we get the perfect payoff later on when Dean visits Rory at school, or it's after school, and there's a thing where it's like, well, I saw you running away from my house, and a sister told you that I called, and they sort of have a fight. Tristan's right there, and Rory says, "I love you, you idiot," and they kiss and they play a PJ Harvey song because, of course. So that's all nicely done, and Tristan has to eat his pride because he's there watching on. By the way, there's a nice sort of visual moment in this episode where um, Paris, who doesn't believe Rory that there's nothing going on with Tristan, she and her two friends do like this twirl up on the stairs where she's like, "Have a nice summer," sort of thing, and then they do it in unison. So that's a really nice bit of direction actually, and that's a fun scene, and it sort of puts down this intrigue with Paris and Rory, and I guess it's almost like to be continued sort of thing. We of course end with the dramatic, like the girls running towards each other. So Lorelai, it seems, has agreed to Max's marriage proposal, which we're going to pick up next season, and Rory's back with Dean, who, let's not forget, everyone, is the fucking worst. So that's the episode. Pretty good season finale, and an enjoyable first season, mostly, if not the best one. So that's my thoughts on Gilmore Girls Season 1, Episode 23. Love Daisies, Troubadours. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. And I will be moving on to the second season pretty soon when things really get cooking. Before that, I will do a special top 5 episodes of Season 1 video. So I'll be back with that next time. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again soon.